Hey friends, it's John. You're on the JRB Tree Climbing channel. You've heard me say it 100 times. DSRT, doubled stationary rope technique, is my favorite way to get in a tree. And there are different systems we might be constructing which are capable of DSRT, namely a dedicated system like the tiny little 7.1 millimeter system I have on the right, or we might be creating a universal system like the 9.5 millimeter rope I have here on the left. Regardless, popping on two Longhorn Agile Hitches is not a major undertaking. And so today I'm going to tie those for you in real time. And this video and the website has got links to all of the a priori knowledge you need in order to repeat what I'm doing today. Here is a system constructed of 7.1 Edelrid skimmer dynamic rope, and I have used 5 millimeter sterling standard cord to create two Longhorn Agile Hitches. The first thing you'll notice is when you tie them, they look this way. That's the way they look when we tie them, but I have turned them both 180 degrees. And what that does is it gives me basically the optimal feeling in my hand. So I like tying them that way. It'll work either way, and it would work if you've got them both tied the same. But as per the recent video on the Longhorn Agile Hitch in its single loop variant, here is the Longhorn Agile as you would have originally tied it. The single loop variant simply shortens the loop that's under the nugget short as possible and exposes and loads that this way. Dedicated video on the single loop variant, or transforming, I should say, transforming the Longhorn Agile into the single loop variant. This is nice because it's easy to rig with just one strand. But I bring it to you today because I want to make sure you think about your safety factor. This 5 millimeter cord has a 5.1 kilonewton breaking strength. So with my weight here, I would have evenly loaded 4 strands, which gets me over 20 kilonewtons, which is kind of borderline for a climbing system. If I want to double that, I simply transform this back into the standard Longhorn Agile. Now I have 4 strands in each hitch holding me, and my theoretical breaking strength goes up. So please consider that when you're building a system. Here in the center, this is 5.5 millimeter Teufelberger Tech cord. This stuff is incredibly strong. It's 4 times stronger than this. It's 20 kilonewtons on 8 millimeter rope. And I've tied these both in the same chirality, both right-handed chirality. And that's not a big deal. I just don't have as much symmetry. And over here on the left, I've got a pair of 6 millimeter TRC on 9.5 millimeter rope. This would be part of a universal climbing system. You'll notice here at the bottom, I've got a girth hitch on 2 of the loops. So I've got the inner loops a little longer. See, I got this one about 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches longer than the other, just enough that I can put a girth hitch here. Now, I'll be honest with you, I've tested this plenty, but I don't actually run it this way. What it does, though, is it makes the system a little bit easier to move. If you notice the distance between these lines, I can get 2 fingers in there, where in this system I can just get 1 finger. The reason is because these girth hitches push the hitches apart, and that's going to make it just a little bit easier when you're moving them. So if I'm operating the system with a single shove, I put my hand here during ascent. I squeeze here while I'm lifting my body, and then loosely grip them like this and push them up. That's a little easier to do when I've got these girth hitches acting as separators. If I had them set like this, well, they'd be a little harder to advance, but still doable. And so I don't bother with that, but I want to give it to you as an option. If you're having any difficulty advancing your hitches, or if they're getting bound during rappel, think about putting a girth hitch in there. Okay, I am going to deconstruct this side and we're going to rebuild it from scratch. Okay, I'm going to run a little timer here. I am working with 80 inches of 6mm TRC. And as per the length specifications on the page for the Longhorn Agile Hitch, I'm starting with a 12-inch working end on both sides. What I'm tying right now is the Longhorn Loop, or the Longhorn Hitch. Won't be hitched to anything but my finger. Now, I realize I'm going quickly here and you're not going to be able to follow along, but I've done a ton of detailed knot tying videos. This one's called Tying the Longhorn Hitch and Longhorn Loop. What I'm doing now is demonstrating, well, how long it takes me to tie in real time. What does it really take to tie these things? Once we get fluent with our hitches, it's kind of like tying your shoes. If you watched a kid tying their shoes for the first few times, well, it'd be a little difficult to watch, right? But you don't think twice about an adult tying their shoes. Well, that's the Longhorn Hitch. I'll now extend the loop on the left side 18.5 inches. And I can actually measure this on my body, but I'm going to skip that here and just get started. So I'm building the standard variant on the right side, the standard right-handed variant. Go around the back twice, 3, 4, 5 times, down across the front. And I've got a hitch built. And here's the second one. Now this one I'll be tying for the other hand. So this is the left-handed chirality for the left hand. And this one, instead of starting from left to right, when I start the Longhorn, I'll be starting from right to left. This part's identical. This is creating the Longhorn Hitch and Loop. Make sure it's dressed out. Obviously I'm self-filming here, so if I go out of view, it's nothing personal. Okay, this time I'm going to extend the loop on the right side 18.5 inches and lay it over the rope from right to left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down. Get these both the same length. Okay. And I've got it. Well, according to my clock, I'm at 3:05 right now. First time it was, I don't know, 2:59. Maybe I talked too much, but you get the idea. In just a few minutes, I could step into that and climb. It's that quickly. Now, first time, before we actually climb, we'll get our carabiner in each one. We're going to make sure that these are the exact same size, these two loops. We'll just move them and break them in a little bit. Make sure it auto tens. Great. Let's do the same thing to the other one. These loops look exactly the same size. I'll just hammer on that. That just moves effortlessly. Great. So that is ready to climb. Okay, now when it comes to rigging the rope into the tree, you've seen me say before, when I build a universal system on the end, I've got this thing called the end loop. There's my JRB end loop. I've got one on both of these ropes. There's my JRB end loop, which makes it really easy to rig. But this isn't mandatory. We only need that in certain situations. If this friction hitch will just pass through a crotch, well, all I really need to do is, here's my paracord preset. It's got a little loop on the end. Here's a little rigging carabiner. You can use one of these, or you can use the Micro Raider from Omega Pacific. I wouldn't use these S-beaners. They seem like a good choice, but they can really open and get caught on something. Even with these little lockers, I am not a fan. Once you get one stuck, you'll understand why. But all I need to do is put my power cord, attach my power cord preset here, and I can use that to draw this up into the tree. That's adequate. We could DSRT climb an entire season with just a system that took a couple of minutes to build. Another option for rigging the system, if you don't have any clips whatsoever, so I'm going to take this one back to the single loop system, which I kind of like on this combination. And if you need to rig that into the tree and all you have is a piece of power cord, you can put it through there, and then you can tie a Maverick hitch or a running highwayman's hitch here. I'm just doing it upside down. I don't even lock it, just leave it like that. And look, I could take that up and rig it into a tree. If you're working with both loops exposed, you're just grabbing both loops. All I ask you to be careful of is when you're climbing, if you've got a double loop, make sure you get both sides. So here's how we would rig it to get it into the tree. Again, this is just a Maverick hitch upside down, or running highwayman's. That's going to work fine. You can rig it into the tree. But please make sure when you engage, this is unambiguous. One loop, you're going to engage it. But this, not so. If you accidentally engage this side, well, this loop is going to, you see what can happen? This loop can get smaller and it could pop through. If you engage this side, this loop comes through and the whole thing could come off the line. So always be careful when you're putting your bridge carabiner into your Longhorn Agile, and make sure you've engaged what you wanted to. If you have any difficulty moving something up, consider the girth hitches. That's as quick as I could get this out. No script as usual. Can't wait to show you this stuff in a tree. DSRT for the win. Thank you guys.